Good morning. This is Steve Jolly with Benchmark Realty, and welcome to the Music City Show. I want to thank you guys for tuning in today. I really appreciate your loyalty to this program and for continuing to watch and for continuing to be interested in the real estate market in Nashville. So let's dive in. I've got a really cool show for you today. So the first thing I want to talk about is the NAR, National Association of Realtors, Chief Economist Dr. Lawrence Yun spoke to Nashville Realtors last week to give his economic forecast based on what he sees. Now, this forecast is predicated on that we're going to be able to get back to work safely soon, whether it's through social distancing, contact tracing, some treatment that works on this virus, or a combination of those things is going to help. If all that comes together to help bring us back to work safely, then this is what he sees in the forecast. If it doesn't, we can throw all this out of the water because nobody really knows what happened. So let's look at what Dr. Yun thinks about. These are the national numbers. So let's see what he thinks about the nation as a whole. So this is GDP growth across the nation. So in 2019, we had about a 2.3% growth in GDP, gross domestic product. In 2020, we're expected to be down 3%. So for the first quarter of this year, we're down almost 5%. For the second quarter, we're estimated to be down 35%. But if we can get back to work safely, we expect to bounce back in the third quarter and in the fourth quarter, which would put us at the end of the year down 3%, which would be amazing considering we've had over 20 million people laid off and file for unemployment in the last few weeks. 2021, if all that holds, we expect to be about a 3% growth in GDP. So back to normal GDP growth. That's good news. Job growth. 2019, we created 2.2 million jobs. 2020, we're expected at the end of the year to have a decrease of 4 million jobs. We've already lost more than that now. Most of those workers were furloughed. We expect those, if the economy gets started, to come back pretty quickly. A lot of those were small business jobs. There's still a huge demand out there for these small businesses. So if we can get back to work safely, we expect that to bounce back. And in 2021, to have another growth of about 2 million jobs. So that's more good news. Home price growth. Last year across the country, the growth was about 4.8%. That's pretty close to what Nashville did also. In 2020, we expect about a 0 to 2% growth in prices. And in 2021, a 2 to 4% growth in prices because there's a lot of pent-up demand here. And when we get to the market update for this week, you'll see that also. And lastly, for the economic forecast, let's look at home sales growth. So last year across the nation, home sales, this was the number of homes sold every month, were pretty flat, 0% growth. In 2020, Dr. Yun's forecasting a 5 to 10% drop in home sales growth. Some of that's due to lack of inventory, and some of that's due to the virus, and we'll just have to see how that plays out. But in 2021, due to pent-up demand, we're expecting a rebound to 8 to 12% growth in home sales. So that's really good news. Now let's look at what's happening in Nashville right now. So these are closed sales for the week in greater Nashville. And so in each of these charts, you're going to see the lighter color always represents this year. So for the most part, we've been ahead of last year in closed sales, except for the last 3 weeks. Now for this very last week, 422 to 428, we will see that gap close a little bit in the next week or two as closings that are happening now get entered into the MLS. I wish all them got entered in a timely manner, but there is a delay, sometimes up to several weeks delay to see all those get entered. So I'd like to see us close that gap. But I think we'll get closer, but I don't think we're going to beat last year for this week. Now let's take a look at new listings for the week. Last week we saw a jump in new listings, and this week we slightly declined from that. This time of year we should expect to see new listings climbing as we get closer to our peak of the year, which is normally in June and July. So we have a gradual ramp up to that starting in the springtime. So this is one of the things that's holding home sales back is the lack of listings. Before the crisis, we were already down 10% over last year. So hopefully we can come back and we can get more listings in the market so we can create more sales. Now, listings is one of those forward-looking indicators because and it's one of the milestones that we go on to get to a closings. You have to have new listings first. So we really need those in the market. So if you know somebody that's thinking about putting their home on the market, we're seeing a lot of demand from buyers out there. Now, I understand if you're living in the home and you're concerned about having strangers in your home, then that's probably not a good idea. But if you have any other circumstances where you can allow people into your home or allow virtual open houses or virtual showings, I would definitely consider that as soon as possible. Showings for the week, another sign of strong demand. So for the last 3 weeks, we've seen growth there, and it's rocketed back. So showings, although they're not to the height that they were at this time last year, they are increasing rapidly. So we do see a lot of these are virtual showings. So agents are using technology to help folks out, which is great. We offer that also. So any listing in Middle Tennessee, we'll be glad to show you from the comfort of your own home. But if not, if you have to see it in person, we can take extra precautions and help you with that too. So showings are up for a week. That's a sign of strong demand. Let's look at under contract for the week. Once again, we have beat that 2 weeks in a row. So there is still strong demand for people to buy homes. We're seeing that in the showings. We're seeing that in the number of homes that go under contract. Considering we're ahead of last year, that's good news, but that can't go on forever without new listings coming out to the market. Now, builders can make up some of that, but there's no way they can make up the deficit that we're in with inventory right now. So let's keep that in mind as we go forward. And so the news still is good overall. If you saw my report I sent out earlier in this week, we see no indication of prices dropping here in Nashville. In fact, they're ahead of the median sales price is significantly ahead of where it was last year, about 8%. And we're flat over last month. So we don't see any increase or decrease in prices. They seem to be holding steady. So that's good news going forward. Now speaking of home prices, and if you're concerned about what your home price is, what your home value is right now, here is one way you can do that. You can go to my site, which is NashvillePrices.com. You can enter in your address, and you can instantly get 2 automated home values for your home. And if you want if you want to know the exact worth of your home, as close as we can get it, based on the unique characteristics of your home. Just enter your information here. You'll get 2 automated ones instantly. And then if you want, I can provide that to you at no cost and no obligation. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is what's coming up next week. So we're going to talk about how the changes in the mortgage market affect you. So we'll be talking about refinances, what's available, what the current rates are, because they're at all-time lows right now. They're around 3%. Are jumbo loans, can you get them? Are they coming back? I'm starting to see some of that, but we really need to dig into that. And then also another area of concern was first-time home buyer loans and loans that work with you on home affordability. So we're going to try to get some experts in here to answer those questions for you. So thank you guys for tuning in to the Music City Show. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope you have a good week, and I will see you next time. Peace and love, y'all.